So tonight's Friday night exciting adventure is freezer meals.
Be sure to subscribe to get notified as I release new videos.
Hi friend, and welcome back to Food is My Love Language. I am Kim. Tonight, as I said, is Friday night, and I have a fairly major surgery coming up in a few weeks, about 3 weeks now. So I've been working like mad to try to get as much actually like food meals, like full meals in the freezer so that I'm not having to do any cooking through my recovery time. My son also works 2 jobs, so it means that he can grab things and quickly heat them up between jobs. I also have a family member coming to stay with me after the surgery, so I just want to make sure that we've got what we need without having to do a whole bunch of work and grocery shopping at the time. So I am not going to have lofty goals tonight. I have 3 things I need to get done. Number 1 is buttered chicken. Number 2 is curried butternut squash soup. And number 3 are oatmeal cups. So right now I've got cauliflower and carrots roasting in the oven. I just put a bit of avocado oil, cumin, some turmeric, and some of my homemade seasoning salt on there. And I'm roasting those right now so they can go in with the buttered chicken meals. And I've also got the chicken marinating in the fridge. So if you want recipes for any of these things that we make tonight, click on the link in the description below. It'll take you over to my blog, and that has everything that you're going to need there. So everything I'm making tonight, I'm going to double so that we've got extra freezer meals in there. So I'm going to put this on. I'm going to get some oil heating in. So I'm going to put some avocado oil in there. And to that, I'm going to add 4 diced shallots and a nice big tablespoon of garlic. Okay, so to that we're going to add some Indian curry and some cinnamon mixed together. And we're going to toast that. Okay, now we're going to add the butternut squash. And we're going to stir that around to coat with the curry and spices for just a few minutes, just to help the spices stick to the butternut squash. And I'm also just going to add a splash of the vegetable bouillon. Okay, we're going to add a pinch of salt, good pinch of salt, good pinch of black pepper as well. So that's been kind of tossing around for about 4 minutes. Now I'm going to add the rest of this vegetable bouillon. So I've got about 4 cups here. Again, this is doubling it though. I'm also going to add a nice big teaspoon of chili garlic sauce. I've got about 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, real maple syrup. And I'm going to add 2 cans of organic coconut milk to this. All right, so we're just going to give it a stir. We're going to bring it to a somewhat of a boil, not really a boil, I would say a strong simmer. We'll bring it to a strong simmer, and then we'll turn it down, reduce the heat, and let it simmer for probably another 20 minutes until the butternut squash is super tender. And it sounds like our carrots and cauliflower are done. Those are looking delicious. So we're going to get started on the chicken. I'm going to put some avocado oil in there. And we've got our chicken that's been marinating for about a half an hour now, so I don't want to crowd the pan. I'm just going to, probably should wait till it got hot, but it doesn't matter. We'll be fine. We're going to do these in 2 batches. So while we're waiting for the chicken to start cooking to make the buttered chicken, we're just going to start dishing up some of these so I can get this pan out of the way. So as I said, I think we're going to be able to get about 10 individual meals out of this buttered chicken and the veggies, and I've got some rice that I cooked yesterday that I'm going to be using as well. So let's get some veggies in here. As you can see, I have a very small kitchen, so I am constantly having to move things around in order to accomplish especially things like freezer meal days. But what that also means is that you can do it. You don't need a massive kitchen to be able to do it. Okay, so I've got enough veggies for about 8 meals, which will be fine. I might have some extra of the butter chicken, or we could just possibly have leftovers of this if one person doesn't eat all of it. So I'm going to grab my leftover rice so I can throw that in here as well. So that worked out perfectly. I got 8 servings of the rice as well. And so all we need to do is chop these with butter chicken when it's ready. Okay, this chicken is looking good. It's not supposed to be done all the way or all the way through because we're going to finish cooking it in the sauce. We're going to stick that in the oven because it's still warm from the carrots and cauliflower. Trim that down a little bit. And now we'll throw in our next batch. So the curried butternut squash soup is looking really great. It also tastes really good. I had a little taste of it so I could adjust the seasoning, and all it needed was a little bit more salt. But they're still not quite tender enough because we're going to use the immersion blender, and we're not quite ready to do that. This chicken is done. We're going to pour it into the bowl and move on to the next step. And we're going to add the butter because, of course, it is butter chicken. Let that melt. And we're just going to scrape any brown bits off the bottom of the pan here. And we're going to add our red onions. So we're going to let those sweat for about 6 minutes, and we're going to keep stirring them reasonably frequently so that they don't burn. So we're going to use the immersion blender. I'm going to turn this way down. Yeah, I'm going to turn it down because I might have to adjust the seasonings and keep it cooking for a little bit longer. But I'm just going to use the immersion blender, and we want to blend this up and make it really smooth. Okay, so we're just going to kind of stir it around and check it to make sure that there's no big chunks of butternut squash in there. And it looks good. So the last step here is to just, I like to throw some lime juice in there. And then I actually top it when I'm ready and I reheat it. I'll top it with coconut yogurt. I make my own coconut yogurt. It's delicious with it, or you can put a little bit of cilantro on, or both. Okay, we're just going to give it a taste, see how it is. Oh my God, so good. Needs a little bit more lime juice. Other than that, it's perfect. So this is done. So I'm just going to move it off this element here and let it cool down before I put it in individual containers in the freezer. So now we're going to add some freshly grated ginger, some of my homegrown garlic, and we're going to let that saute in here for about a minute. So now I'm adding some ground coriander, cumin, and garam masala. And we're going to let that toast for about 20 seconds. Now the recipe calls for crushed tomatoes, but I'm going to use my raw packed tomatoes that I made this summer. We're going to add chili powder and a good pinch of salt. Now this particular recipe doesn't call for it, but other butter chicken recipes call for adding some cashews. So I'm just going to add a handful of raw cashews, and that'll make it nice and creamy when we blend it up. So we're just going to let this simmer for about 15 minutes till it's a nice deep red color. So while we're waiting for the butter chicken, which smells divine, we're going to make our oatmeal cups. These are so easy, they're so healthy, they're so quick, they're a great breakfast on the go. So we're going to make these with rolled oats. If you're using quick oats or steel cut oats, you might have to adjust the ratio of liquid to oats. So just double check that. For this, I'm using organic rolled oats. And so we're going to do 4 cups of oats. And then we need 8 cups of liquid. So I'm going to start with, this is unsweetened vanilla almond milk, but again, you can use any kind of liquid for this. We're going to do part this and part water. So we need a total of 8 cups of liquid. So that gave us 4 cups, so we'll use 4 cups of water. Now I like to put a little vanilla, a little cinnamon, and some salt in mine before I cook it. So we're going to put this on the stove, give it a mix, put it on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down to simmer until it reaches a nice consistency that you like. So this is where it gets fun because you can get super creative. So I like to divide, if I'm doing a big batch like that, I like to divide them into 2 bowls so I have 2 different flavors to choose from when I pull them out of the freezer. So I'm going to add some flax seeds to both. These are ground flax. I'm going to add hemp hearts to both of them as well because they're good protein. I'm going to add all bran to one and bran buds to the other. There's really not much difference, I don't think, except for the shape of them. And I'm not going to add all the berries and nuts and seeds and things like that until I mix these up with the oatmeal. In the meantime, it looks like our butter chicken might be close to being ready for the next step. So we need to add it to a bowl. So we're going to use the immersion blender now to make sure it's really smooth. So now we want to put this through a sieve to get it as smooth as possible. So we're just going to press this through so it's a nice smooth butter chicken rather than a kind of a grainy one, because you can only blend it so smooth, and butter chicken is supposed to be silky smooth. So I'm going to use a spatula now so I can really squeeze down and get as much of the sauce out as possible. Okay, so we weren't left with very much at all. Little tiny bit of paste in there, and really it was probably mostly the cashews and maybe tomato skins and seeds. So to this we're going to add butter. And while that's melting, we're going to add some cream. Now I could put it back in here, but I think it's going to overflow, so I'm going to get something else. So I'm just getting my old trusty saucepan here. Then we're going to put our chicken back in. Give it a good stir. And then we're going to let that simmer so all the flavors meld together for about 5 minutes. Okay, had to do a little hand washing because, again, I have a small kitchen. Oatmeal is done, so let's divide it into these 2 bowls here. So we're going to give this a good mix because, of course, we've mixed the bran and the flax in there as well. Now I like to add protein powder. This is actually pea protein. So I'm going to put a good scoop, maybe 2 in each of them. Now if you're going to be adding a lot of, these kind of powdered ingredients like ground flax and all bran and protein powder, you might want to put a little bit more liquid in your actual oatmeal when you're cooking it, or you could even add some more in at this point here. I like it thick because I like to add a little bit of non-dairy creamer to it once it cooks. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to add a few more ingredients in. One of them is a little bit more cinnamon because it's good for you and because it tastes good. Okay, now's where you can add your fruit, your berries, your nuts, your seeds. So let me grab some. Okay, so this one here, I'm going to add some pepitas And I'm going to add a ton of blackberries. So these are blackberries that I just foraged this summer, picked them, and brought them home. And that actually needs more, so I'm going to grab some more. Okay, so I'm going to grab some more blackberries. I want lots in here because this is the antioxidant part that I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm just going to mix it that much. I actually don't need more than that. And then I'll just make sure that I've got some of these blackberries in each of the muffin cups. And in this one here, I'm going to add some raw peaches that I got this summer. So I've got a big bag of blueberries here that I'm going to add to this one. So this butter chicken is really good. I've got 5 of them packaged up. All I need to do is add some to each one, put the lid on, label it, and pop it in the freezer, and we've got enough meals for 8 people here. With some to spare, which I'll put in the fridge, and my son and I will have that for dinner tomorrow. So thanks for hanging out with me on this Friday night as I did some freezer meal prep. Do me a favor, if you do freezer meals, leave a comment below and let me know what your favorite meals to freeze are. See you next time.
Be sure to subscribe to get notified as I release new videos.